So I'm just going to talk you through how to make your stencil to make the basic shape of your textile insect. So I've drawn out the basic shape using my design plan, and you can see that it's made the outlines of what will be our stencil. So just make sure you don't add any details in the middle, because you don't need to, because this is just going to be the outline so you can cut it out with your fabric. Once you've done that, you need to just cut out the stencil so it looks something like this. Once you've done that, you take your piece of fabric, your piece of calico, which is this nice thick fabric, and you place your stencil over the top. Just make sure you're putting it to the edge of the calico. Okay, so if you've got a calico piece that has a bit of excess fabric here at the top, don't put your stencil in the middle. Okay, put it towards the edge so that you can use that excess fabric for something else. Don't waste the fabric. Once you've done that, I'm going to show you how to pin it in place so that you can cut out the fabric. So you take a pin. Now the pins are the ones with the little heads here. Okay, and then you pierce that through your work, through the fabric as well. Okay, and that will come out the other side, so you need to be very careful that you don't pierce a finger. And then you need to go back through so you pierce it through and then go back through so that the pin sits like this. I'll just show you again, because some people are leaving their pins in sticking out like this. Okay, and that's dangerous because the pin sticks out. If you leave your work in your folders ready to do next week, okay, then, and there's pins sticking out, then that could be dangerous when you put your hand into your folder. So you just pierce that through so the pin will sit like that. So now do a few more pins just to keep that in place while you cut it out. So I do probably a pin in each wing, and that should keep that down flat so that you can cut it out. So then you want to cut out the fabric around the shape of your stencil, but just allow yourself a little bit of room for sewing. So if I put that flat, you can see I've just allowed a little bit of room for sewing, and then you can trim those edges off once you've sewed. Okay, I'm going to as well just mark very, very, very lightly some of the edges of the wings and the outline of the stencil. So you don't have to do that all over, just very lightly in some parts, because this will help you when you're sewing to sew neatly around the edges of where the stencil is. Okay, so that's your sewing marks. So I wouldn't do it all over, just do it lightly in some areas where you think you might need some guidance to sew nice and straight. Or around these eyes where you might need that to be nice and round. You can see if I lift that up, you've just got a little bit of a guideline then for where you could sew. Okay, so once you've done that, you can unpin. You need to make two of these. So you would unpin this, and then you would do this on a second piece of fabric, because these are going to be sewed together to make your shape look 3D. So you'll end up with two of these calico stencils. Once you've done that, you can start to cut out your colourful pieces of fabric, which are going to make your bug look interesting. So I've cut out a couple of shapes already just to show you. So I used my stencil again just as a guide, and I drew around the edges of the wings, and then again I just allowed myself a little bit of room just to sew. So I'll place those where I want them to be on the insect so that I remember. So that's two pieces already. Okay, and then I'll probably add two more colours here, maybe a bit down the middle, and then some applique decorative stuff on the top. So once you place them where you want to place them, so you don't forget, again, just pin them in place neatly and safely. So I'll do the same with the other one here. So just pinning that down. It's a little bit far over. Nice and neatly. Okay, this is going to look much more tidy once we actually sew it all together. Okay, and use your stitches to make it all look neat. At the moment, you're just building up the base of your insect. Okay, so you want to cover that in colourful fabrics and make it look exciting.